The chairman, Chasher Rabbanim, Chavrei Meses Galei HaTorah, and the CS of Agudah Yisrael, Achim v'Reim Ahuvim. I must confess that the chairman, the co-chairman of our convention, did pull a fast one on me before. And you know what people say, that Rabbi Sherer controls the convention. I must also add that a victim of this surprise, as many of you know, I walk around at all conventions with a computer clock to time the speakers. And out of shock, it seems that my computer clock stopped working. I don't know if it's good for you or not, but that's what happened. You know, this is our 70th anniversary of Agudah Yisrael of America, as you've heard tonight. And the secret now is out that it's, Baruch Hashem, my 50th year, and I have the schus of being of service to this holy cause. Normally, at a birthday occasion, 70th of the Agudah Yisrael, you wish the celebrant many more years of life, ad me'eschem to 120. But in the case of Agudah Yisrael's 70th birthday, frankly, in the case of Agudah Yisrael, I do not really wish that there be a need for many more years for Agudah Yisrael. Just the opposite is true, and let me explain. In the preamble to the Constitution of the Chevra Kedisha of Copenhagen, it reads as follows: Der Zweck von unser Verein is zu begraben ihre Mitglieder. Translation: the purpose of our society is to bury its members. The purpose of Agudah Yisrael is to build a new world, is to have a world in which Torah dominates every phase of private and national life, to restore the neshama to Klal Yisrael until we can self-destruct because our goal was achieved. V'yahosu chulam agudah echos la'aseis l'tzeincha v'lev sholem. Rebbeinu Shalom, may that day come very, very soon. I could use this platform now to walk down memory lane, at least during the 50 years that I know Agudah Yisrael. There have been many, many thrilling moments. You know, close to 70 years ago, the very first group of the Daf Yomi began when the pioneers of Agudah Yisrael, small handful of people, started learning around a little table, the Daf Yomi. Little did they believe that 70 years later, Agudah Yisrael would turn into the Daf Yomi organization, which has revolutionized the lives of so many people and changed over the whole spiritual outlook of so many homes, and which has created a new type of person, a Daf Yomi Jew, and that 70 years later, 20,000 people would come to the 9th Siyum Hashas of the Daf Yomi in Madison Square Garden, and there call out together, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. And 55 years ago, when that legendary hero of Hatzalah, of Elimelech Tres, Zecher Tzadik Livrocha, used to go to Washington and poured out his very lifeblood and knocking on doors of offices of Washington in order to be able to be Matzel Yidden. I remember those days. And almost every door was hermetically closed to him. Little did we dream in those days that we would today have a fully staffed, highly effective Washington office in our nation's capital, which when it speaks, Washington listens, Baruch Hashem. The Dean of the American Rabbinate, Harav of Shimon Schwab, already spoke about some vignettes of the memories of the past. But instead of that, continuing in that vein, let us realize that the Jewish world is looking at this convention. The entire Jewish world knows about it. And the Haredi world is looking here too. And from this platform, in the presence of the Gedolei Yisrael and so many leaders of communities throughout North America, I would like to deliver a message to the so-called leadership of the Jewish establishment, which 10 days ago met at a General Assembly. 3,000 of the top leaders of Jewish federations throughout America came together in New York at the General Assembly of the Council of Jewish Federations. And they spent one day studying very seriously the problem of Jewish continuity, of Jewish identity. And at last, they came to the conclusion that the patient American Jewry Bichlal is critically ill. But unfortunately, these misguided leaders chose the wrong doctors. The chief executive officer of that group announced, and this is the most important group in the whole country of the secular establishment, he stated, Israel must become the major exporter now of Jewish identity to America. The shlichim, the Israeli emissaries, should become the Pied Pipers, and I'm quoting, should become the Pied Pipers bringing Jewishness to the soil. Others said we have to have Jewish education. And entrusting, as they do to their major leadership, this Jewish education into the hands of the reforming conservative rabbis who dominate their groups. And I would say that from this platform, we plead with these misguided leaders, please understand that you are bringing very seriously sick patients to those doctors who are responsible for this galloping assimilation in this country. Most of the Israeli shlichim here are exporting to this country not kimitzion teitzei seira, but lahavul elef avdois kimitzion teitzei Teiras Karl Marx. And these other rabbis upon whom you are, without knowledge, putting on the mantle of educational leadership for chinuch, they speak of a Judaism which is to us 613 mitzvahs, but to them, there's 613 problems. And these healers, to whom you are going, are guilty of spiritual malpractice. Please, now that you know the problem, now that you know how sick Klal Yisrael is, now that you see how we are losing Jews, and you yourself say that in 25 years from now you'll hardly have any more Jews in your constituency, why don't you go and have the sense and the bina and the das to understand, to go to the only source that can teach you how to heal these sick people, and that is the world of Torah and the Yama Torah and the organization of Torah Messiah and the real Mechanchim, and go for advice to those who hold the key in their hands to Yiddish and Nitznius, to Jewish eternity, and seek the advice of our Gedolei Torah. At the same time, I have a message to our own Torah community, primarily because I walked around Thursday afternoon and I went to the 4 consecutive symposia taking place, and I noticed an outstanding attendance at 3 of them. And the one that was related to the problem of intermarriage was very poorly attended, and I understand why. Was hat es getan mit uns, as so many of our people say. It's them. It's not us. It's them. Not us. You know, there's a chazal that says that when you stand near a Jew at the time of Yitzias Neshama, when his Neshama is about to leave and go to the Ol High, you're mechuyev to reis kriye kiroye Sefer Torah shenisraf, as if you saw a Sefer Torah that is burning before your eyes. A Yiddish neshama, according to our Chazal, is like a Sefer Torah. Do you know how we react when we hear on the radio, or someone tells us, oh, there's a fire in the base of Medrash? What is the first question we always ask? Are the Sefer Torahs burned? Very first question. Sefer Torah, are they all right? Oh, Baruch Hashem. And if the Sefer Torah is burned, we cry. Rabbi Sherer, before our eyes, looking with Torah spectacles. There are millions of Sifrei Torah who are b'shas Yitzias Neshama. The Neshamas are going out of them. Burning. The least we can do is reis kriya on our hearts and in our conscience. Of course, I know there's much activity going on here and there, but this problem, as was pointed out before by Rav Schwab, must be put on the top of our agenda. I know our agenda is overloaded. Every day there are new problems. Syrian Jews, talked about last night, 3,200 of the Jews, Baruch Hashem, have now gotten out of Syria. 650 of their youngsters have been put into yeshivas, but there are 500 more youngsters from Syria coming in the next few weeks to this country who have to be taken care of and absorbed spiritually. There's so many problems. There's a problem of, once again, the sound of kill the Jews resounding throughout, not only in the beleaguered Crown Heights, but with ever-increasing crescendo in Eastern Europe and in a more subtle fashion in the United States. Parnassa problems, you saw the video, that has devastated so many families in our midst. Russian Jewry, the increased tensions in Eretz Yisrael, the matzav of the Meistes HaTorah in America. There's so many items that must be in our agenda. Mind-boggling crises. But what we have to do, my Rabbi Sherer, is enlarge the framework of Agudas Yisrael. Agudas Yisrael as you heard before, which is the only Koyach HaRabim containing so many diverse elements with the Yahadus Achreidus. So that when we're together, when we feel fatigued and frustrated, at least in the Ramin of Agudas Yisrael, we get injections of adrenaline to keep moving forward, one from each other and from our Gedolei Yisrael. Teire Herzige Yidden, I'm terribly troubled, of course, by the fact that to so many of us, Agudas Yisrael is taken for granted. People look upon it as a wonderful good thing, but it's natural, like water. All the air we breathe, they expect it to keep going on. But these are such historic days. And we dare not, during these days of crisis and challenge and opportunity, let ourselves be found sleeping at the switch. There's an amazing medrash that I always found so difficult to understand. The medrash tells us the time of Kabbalah Satira. Moshe Rabbeinu came down from Har Sinai. Vayotzei Moshe es ha'am likras Elokim min hamachne. Moshe Rabbeinu, according to the medrash, when he came down, he saw that many of the Bnei Yisrael had fallen asleep. Think of it. The time of Kabbalah Satira was changed all of Klal Yisrael, changed the world. Many of our people of Galatians. And the Medrash tells us that Moshe Rabbeinu had to go mi'ayel la'ayel from one tent to another and knock on the doors and wake up the people. Come, it's Kabbalah Satira, wake up! Wake up, it's Kabbalah Satira. Tyre Yidden, let us not make that mistake of the Bnei Yisrael at that time and be caught sleeping at this critical juncture. Agudas Yisrael was created to be the alarm clock organization to wake up Jews, to do, to think, to advocate Al Pi Torah. And I know that many of us are doing it, of course, but so many of us are not doing as much as we should. Some of us are even napping, and some are sleeping, and some are even in deep slumber, satisfied. Baruch Hashem, my family and I, we're great, we're living great, but we don't think of the outside world, too many of us. And the job of Agudas Yisrael is to be me'ayri yishein and make yitzz nirdomim. And first I say to ourselves, we have to do more and more and not be afraid that we're overloading the agenda. This is the job, that history that the Gedolei Yisrael that founded Agudas Yisrael 80 years ago placed upon our shoulders. And then we have to go out to those less fortunate than we are, who never, they are really in deep slumber and the fire of assimilation is burning at their feet, and arouse them from their stupor. When I was a little boy, I remember how my father and mother, Zechron Levavah, they had come to this country 95 years ago from a little shtetl in Ukraine and Russia, near Berditchev. And I never understood why they kept telling me the same story all over again and over again. They used to tell me that in their shtetl, I'm sure some other shtetl in Europe, in the morning to go to shul, there used to be a veker who would go around to all the houses to wake up the people. He would knock on the shutters of the windows, knock on the shutters of every window, and call out in his tune, Shtei Toiv, Shtei Toiv, Shtei Toiv la'avodas haboirei ki lekach neitzalto. Wake up! Wake up! To the Avodah for Hashem Yisborach. Because when you were created to, in this world, the Avodah Shalom brought you in this world. To Avodah Haboirei, to do the Avodah Shalom's bidding. Now, and they kept telling me that story time and again, and I never knew why. Now that I'm older, and I look around at the world, I know what they meant. I know now that Agudas Yisrael was created by the Tzaddikim to be the Veker organization of Klal Yisrael. To be the Veker, the awaker, the arouser of Klal Yisrael to do and to think and to act properly. So I can only repeat what I was taught as a child. Shtei toiv, la'avodas haboirei, ki lekach nitzavta. Thank you for listening.